You are about to witness a global movement. The medical system has failed us. Pharmaceuticals are designed to make us sick, weak, dependent. Not anymore. This is the Medicine Girl podcast with renowned healing expert and registered nurse Robin Stebbins. Every week, we shine the light on new ways to heal your body from the root, ignite your inner healer, and tap into your divine wisdom. Begin to live harmoniously with your mind, body, and spirit. You are stronger than you think, braver than you realize. Now is the time to wake up and start living healthier, wealthier, and laugh out loud happier. And here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Medicine Girl podcast. It is me, your host, Robin Stebbins, and today I am excited to have a friend that I have met in person, Julie. Please introduce yourself. Please explain the connection. And then we'll just kind of delve into some interesting ideas about how to educate our children in this new world.
Yes. So, Robin and I met, a few months ago in person, live and in person, and we're clear that we are here, both of us. I define myself as someone who's awake. I have been in the educational arena for over 50 years, and I am somebody who's aware of the new paradigm that is currently in process, not just in the educational arena, but in all the systems that currently exist on the planet. So I'm Julie Daigle. I'm an educator. I've been educating the new beings who have been incarnating on the planet for the last 30 years. I'm aware of the shift in consciousness. I'm aware that there's a lot that's like the way I see it right now, Robin, is we're going through a massive upgrade. And some people like to think of it as a big renovation of a huge Victorian house that has been around forever. We love the Victorian house. We love what it, the builders of it, the architects of it, but we're aware that all the old systems, electrical, plumbing, and so forth is now the asbestos that needs to be taken out. So there are things that are currently happening we'll focus on the educational arena. And that's in progress right now. So my focus has been to multifold. As an educator, I've been in the private sector my entire life. I knew that if there was going to be any movement, any big quantum leap movement in the field of education, that it would have to take place in the private sector. So my path took me to the Montessori arena, although I'm familiar with the Waldorf arena also. And so I've been teaching the littles for quite a few years, watching them come in with their upgraded DNA consciousness, and then adjusting within the Montessori arena, making the adjustments in how to help them navigate that realm, if you will. So that's just a little bit right there. But so right now I'm working with parents who are interested they are aware that their children are the new beings on the planet who are here to help bring forth the new ideas. And so since we're navigating a system that is now being retrofitted, how do you as a parent or a teacher, how do you help your child? How do you help yourself while things seem to be crumbling and very chaotic right now? How do you stay out of fear and stay connected to your intuition? Because that's really the path that these children are helping us recognize. And so I've been working for years to stay connected to my intuition. It has guided me from northern Maine to California to achieve my soul's blueprint and mission on this planet right now. And so part of the work that I do is with parents to connect with their intuition, and then to help them. The children that are coming in right now are highly intuitive, and they're bringing forth the solutions. And so how do parents help their children stay connected to their intuition when there's so much interference happening right now?
That's lots to talk about and unpack.
Yep.
With all of that. And I truly believe that this generation, these children, with our role as parents, as educators, as those that are imparting some wisdom.
Yes.
You know, most of us have had to get through significant programming and these paradigms that we've been under and this control we've been under and the school system and what we've been indoctrinated literally into has to have been untangled for us to now impart any kind of guidance to this generation. I don't think they're any more advanced, but we just have a better way of like opening up this soul so that we can hear what they have to say and protecting, you know, with everything we got right now, protecting these spirits, these young spirits in awakening to their potential so we can hear what they have to say individually and uniquely. So a couple things to like this thing of fear, staying out of fear so that we can tap into our stillness and listen to our soul.
Yes.
Number one, I want to say that there's no shame or blame if you're in fear. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of very strange things happening and a lot of voices coming in from all different directions, threatening the very essence of our soul's freedom. And so I've said this before to a few people, and if you're in fear, it's okay. Listen to the message. Don't try and just judge yourself or shift and say, okay, I got to get out of fear. This is bad. Let me focus on something else. Listen to the fear. Let it be as big as it needs to be. What in that is real? Use your discernment as to, is there a real threat right now versus the false evidence appearing real? And so as I discern those two away, then I can make a plan if there is a real threat, and I can have several workarounds to that. And then I can say, okay, now I have done my due diligence. I've listened to my soul. I have discernment. Now I can shift because the message has been listened to and acknowledged and acted on. So then now getting back to these wonderful children, and same with them, you know, my son will get in states of fear, or he'll just say, Mom, I can't hear any more of that information right now. Like, I just want to chill and be a normal kid. Like, I just want to be quiet from all of this noise that's happening. So as we are now, it's easy to see, I think, what we don't want. I don't want this school system. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I don't really see anything positive about the school system except for the social collaboration and the interaction with his friends. I think that's incredible. So, Julie, where do we go from here? Like, let's say we've got our kids now out of school. We filed these private school affidavits. We're now the ones responsible for educating our children.
Yes.
What do you see as a roadmap? I love that you said tap into our intuition, and that's our guidance system. But I really also believe no one is an island, and we need as much collaboration and village support as possible.
Yes. Well, I like what you had to say, Robin, about being in acceptance of fear. What I discovered is that acceptance of that fear, or the emotional spectrum. Let's call it the emotional spectrum. Because within fear itself, there's a whole range of emotions that come through. And so I've called that my internal guidance system, my internal GPS. So if we accept, if we stay in the moment and we look at our fears, our thoughts, so it's like a combination of what are you thinking and what are you feeling? And the feelings oftentimes overpower our whole being. So part of the practice, and I'm just going to take it down to the nuts and bolts, Robin, is just being able to stay in the moment with what you said. Like, yes, I am feeling fearful now because, let's just take your son, for instance. We're living in an age of information where people are choosing to allow certain streams of information to come in. There's a lot of streams of information from the outside coming in. What I've done is I've made a conscious choice to tune things out. And so your son is being he's letting, as your son, he's saying, I can only take so much in. What he's saying is, I want to just connect to the core of who I am as a human being, because he's aware, this new generation is aware that within themselves is the blueprint of peace, calm, collaboration, and compassion. And right now there's so much coming in from the outside the collective consciousness. They're very attuned to that. So as parents, as teachers, as guides of these young children, it's important that we honor and help them begin to discern where's the information stream coming from. So we've often heard, and I know Robin, you and I have talked about this, that turning off TV is very important. Listening to, if there's mainstream media that's blasting every single moment of every day, that information is an information stream that's coming in. And paying attention to what the message is critical, because if the words, the music, the vibration is that of fear, it's only going to keep building bigger and bigger and bigger, especially in the youth, and not just the youth, just human beings, as because we're very sensitive. We use all of our senses to tune into our environment. So paying attention to what are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you surrounding yourself with? So I personally, in my life and with the children that are around me and the people that are around me, that's the first thing I ask people, is to pay attention to what do you surround yourself with every day? So if you just took today, for instance, and you looked at your morning and how you started your day, were you listening to the radio? Were you listening to the news? Were you listening to something that gives the message of fear? And if you are, then pay attention to your emotions and how is that impacting you? And so then you make a choice. Do I want to keep listening to this or not? So it's always a choice. So it's a process of moving, and I'll take it to the higher level, from just your day-to-day, just being able to stay calm and peaceful by the choices that you make. Who are you listening to? Are you calling up your friends and are they always talking about fear-based stuff? Or are they talking about, hey, I went out for a walk in nature today. I meditated today. I'm listening to this really calming music today. So that's what your son is asking. He's saying, I need to bring myself back to the core essence of who I am.
Well, I think too, it's yeah. And it's, my audience, that we pretty much have that piece down, and these kids, they've got that stuff. And I call it, Are you toxifying your energetic field? Are you poisoning your energetic field with my eyes, with my ears, with my speaking? It's an energetic vibration. It's not just going to Chick-fil-A or Burger King. It's all of it. What are my peers saying? And is somebody being bullied and I didn't stand up for him? That's all toxins. So in that, like what he was saying about like, I don't want to know any more information about possible school shutdowns or things that require discernment. He's saying, you handle it right now because I'm at my limit. I can't navigate anymore.
Correct.
You steer the ship. You're the wayfinder for now. I'll let you know when I'm back on board, because and that's important to honor in all of us. You know, I think, Julie, it's like at some point we got to just give up data collection.
Yes.
And we really just, it's like, okay, I want to be on that creation.
Yes.
Of what is occurring.
Yes.
And keep my ear to the earth. I also feel it's not important, but I also need to know what's the global voice.
So let's get to that. Let's get to that piece. So using my own intuition, in 2002, I was guided to go live in the Sierras.
Mm-hmm.
And on my way up there, I was driving up there and I had this download of this amazing self-sustainable community where the hub of it was the educational model, the new educational model. All right. So I'll fast track and just let you see what I know is already happening on the planet globally, because I'm connected to these people. I'm a part of a group of visionaries who have been working on creating a self-sustainable model for the planet, where if you can imagine.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of those communities going up, and I'm parts of lots of different bubbles. And what that brings up, though, is connecting all of us, because we're not, there's not a global database because of the censorship. But I know there's, I would like to create an on-grid system right now of these sustainable communities. I mean, Wes's dream when he was little was, I want to create a village, a self-sustainable, diverse, biodynamic farming type of village where we're all living in harmony of the blueprint of Mother Nature. She gives us the blueprint. Yes. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel or think it's going to be different or better than somebody else's. But I think especially now is in this moment, I cannot elevate to a self-sustainable community today.
Correct.
That looks like something 6 to however many months out into the future. Today, I want to be safe and protected and eating as healthy and as clean and as biodynamic as humanly possible. So I think that's more where we are directing this energy, is connecting all of these little bubbles so that no matter what, and this is what a lot of us are saying, is just because there's a community in El Salvador, or there's one now in Honduras, there's, a bunch in Colorado, there's some here right in the Bay Area. I don't want to just have to pick one and say, okay, here's where I'm going to be now for the next 3 or 4 years. It can just be until it's time to move on for my intuition. So you can go now anywhere. Yes. We have all of these places that are linked up somehow, so that Julie's like, well, hey, I'm going to go down to Baja. And I'm like, well, I'm going to El Salvador and then Colorado, or whatever it is.
Yes.
It's, it's a similar take of sustainability and working in harmony with Mother Nature.
Yes. And that's what we're in the process of doing. So I think what we're experiencing right now is This is why it's critical that people connect with their intuition, because we are being guided by the earth herself. We are connected to her magnetic grid, and our intuition is guiding us to where to go. And so this is the tough part, because oftentimes we might go into resistance about the move because it does seem overwhelming. Well, gosh, I've been here, for instance, that's what's happening to me right now. I mean, I was guided to go from Maine to California at age 20, at 17. I knew no one here, and everything was given to me to get here and to accomplish what it is that I came here to do, which was to open up private schools and to teach the young children. And so now I'm being called to step out of California and go. So with my intuition, I've been asking my higher guidance, my divine self, where is the earth? Where is she calling me now? And so I've been getting clues, if you will. So the goal right now is truly, while the school, just talking about the school system.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's the school system, the financial system, the food system. I mean, all of it is is shifting right now on purpose. So acceptance of the fact that this big old Victorian house is about to be retrograded is really important. First and foremost, parents need to pay attention to their individual blueprint. You are currently living, let's say, in Idaho, and which would be awesome, actually. But somehow your job's gone away, your house, you're not able to pay your mortgage. The school is starting to put serious, restrictions on your ability, your freedom of movement. So on a global scale, humanity has made an agreement that we are ready to raise our consciousness to that of a higher, to that of compassion. And in order to achieve that, everything that isn't in alignment with compassion and communicate and harmony and all that love is now being brought to the surface so that we can see it, and then we can begin to work at shifting it. Every single person on the planet has made an agreement to be here. Everyone at this time. It's amazing. And so as one race, one human, we all are right now making a decision to say, okay, in my arena, for instance, I'll bring it home. As an educator of young children, I made a choice not to return into to the school where I was teaching at, because I refused to mask myself up. I refused to get vaccinated because internally I know that that is not the way to teach children. And it's also a way to honor my intuitive self, okay? I'm not saying other people shouldn't do that, because their intuition is telling them to do what their intuition's telling them to do that. And I honor that. So,
well, there's also a distinction, though. There's
yes.
Some people operating out of fear and
yes,
allowing themselves to be brainwashed, which I think is very important to distinguish. We're not just haphazardly controlled by media. It's a choice. And I've always said that, God is in the choice. I feel very strongly to allow every person on the planet to know there's a question to be asked. There is another side. This is not a one-sided coin. You're just hearing one side. When have we ever had a good thing where it's just one side? So in that process, what you choose, I have no attachment to, whether you choose one or the other, but it's at least know to have a choice,
yes,
to ask a question. And I think that's our role There's no like all of humanity is going to choose the light or consciousness or whatever, some in the spiritual community deem as good or higher elevation or hierarchical. It's all this absolute beauty of light and dark and shadow. It's intermingling, and we get to kind of see how that plays out. For me, I gravitate towards light. I gravitate towards seeing people elevate,
Yes. Yes.
And for those that don't, I don't shame or judge. It's just not in alignment with where I'm at. So I don't continue my energy with that person.
Right.
And that's all. I wish them love and happiness. And I'm excited to see their journey as well. But that's just one important distinction I wanted to make with this. We're not creating a hierarchy.
Correct. We're not. And absolutely. And I love, like right now, the concept of duality has been, up for discussion in so many ways. And I like to hold the thought that, like I said, I see humanity, all of us, the billions of us that are on the earth right now, as having made a choice to be here at this time for our soul growth and to assist ourselves individually and as a collective to raise our consciousness, not in a hierarchical form, but as an individual who is like, I know I'm someone who is aware, has an awareness of having lived many lifetimes and having learned so many different life expressions. And so there's this, it's easy for me to imagine that and to look at my brothers and sisters here and go like, well, everybody's just doing what they're here to do. And I may not agree with their choice at this moment in time, but I won't judge that because I don't know. They may have come in 1,000 times before me, and for some reason, this is their path to do this particular work. So
right, I agree. Yeah. And just, I think it's also important that we speak our truth to those that have the ability to hear us.
Yes.
Yes. That's an important distinction to make. There's some people that are so far invested into their ideas.
Yes.
They've created their own bubble of truth around them. It's impenetrable, and that's okay. So that's not the type of person to engage with. But those that are asking questions, those that are seeking you out, you're prepared. Not that. I think that's also why we interact with one another. Like, it's an amazing idea that I see you, another facet of this universe, and we get to interact in this dimension, seeing one another as separate enough to have a conversation.
Yes.
To see like, Julie, how do you experience this universe? I'm curious. Robin, how do you experience this universe? And that's how we grow in the evolution of our DNA, our God selves, our Godding in these individual ways becomes the one connection of all.
Absolutely.
So that's just a little couple things that I like to delve into, because I feel like that's so important right now.
Yes.
We don't have these things over our face.
Yeah.
We hug one another.
Yes.
And we communicate in close proximity.
Yes. On purpose. And I'll just speak for myself. I tuned into my body, my mind, my soul, and I asked the question, well, what at this point, with everything that's happening globally, what is the best thing for my being? And the answer that came up was be love. Be love. And know that your body, number one, I trust my body. I know my body. And I know that it's attuned to a vibration where honestly, the belief that I hold is that my body is healthy and doing what it needs to do to stay healthy. And other people, I'm aware that's not the case, but that's their business. That's not my business. Other than if they choose to come into my realm and say, Julie, can you help me because I'm struggling with this, this, and that, then as a Reiki practitioner, I'm able to assist, right? But they have to.
Right. They come to you and they ask, or I've had people brag about things like keeping it in balance. Well, I only have fast food on the weekends. I still see that as an invitation for me to at least give my 2 cents, because they're interacting with me on that. And I said, well, there's no way to sugarcoat your poison. It is poison is poison. So you just recognize that. And I've had a lot of people not have that awareness because they're only hearing the advertisements. The 70% of advertisements on media is pharmaceuticals. You don't think they're also controlling the narrative of media.
Sure.
So have another voice. I really believe, Julie, too, and I've heard you speak to people. It's why we're here. It's why people are coming to us now.
Yes.
Asking those questions. And so it's a softness. It's not here's the truth and here's everything I know. Just it's a softness of even asking more questions. I'm like, well, help me understand how you came to that point of view, and then listen.
Yes. And, because I love, when I was introduced to this knowingness that I'm the creator of my reality, and, I take responsibility for how do I create my reality? Oh, I pay attention to my thoughts. I pay attention to my emotions. And then from that, I create, I take action. So I have literally over the last 20, 30 years, systematically paid attention to what I'm creating. And so I also loved when the concept came in that whatever's on the as within, so without, as above, so below, right? I was like asking those questions, like, well, show me, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, bring me the knowledge of that. So looking outside myself, what I noticed, Robin, was that as I'm being kind, as I'm being loving, as I'm being generous, as I'm being in collaboration, as I'm being a listener, as I'm being me, just being my natural self, then what I'm noticing is the reflection outside me is that. So that speaks to your discerning of the types of people that will come into our world. What I've been shown through my higher guidance is to hold an image of a tree, a beautiful tree that has all its branches, that's in full bloom, let's say, and has fruit on it. And what I notice is that the branches are all different. The leaves there's multiple leaves. The fruits are all in different types of progression. And so as I hold that picture, I see that as humanity. And what I hold as my knowingness is that we all emanated from a source, right? Source energy. And from that source came all this amazing potential of growth, which is, look at humanity, look at the diversity. So it's that tree of diversity. So let's just say one of those people, let's say there are people out in the world who all they can see, all they can do is they've come on their path. They've discovered that pharmaceuticals is their path, that they basically, that's what they've been shown, and they've tried it, and now they're still doing it because nothing else has come their way. And they're so engrossed in it, and it's taken over their body, their chemistry, their mindset, all of that, their emotions, and their reality is now that. So I see that as one of the leaves on the tree. And I can look back at it and go, that's exactly where they're at right now. And we know from experience that that path has a certain destination and a certain lifespan and a certain quality of life. And so what I've chosen to do is look at that and accept that that's there. And then if I happen to be next to that leaf, that person, and there is wisdom that they're open to hearing somehow, then I will share it absolutely. With no well, you need to hear this because this is what's going to help you. It's more like, oh, if they say to me, well, Julie, why is it that you're always drinking water and you don't drink Coca-Cola? You know, like if they're drinking Coke all the time and I'm drinking water, I will share with them the value that it has for me. And
let me ask you this though. In that leaf analogy in the tree,
yes,
when one of the leaves is introducing poison into itself, and by poison I mean actual poison, glyphosates, rodenticides, herbicides, pesticides. Now they're not using Roundup; they're using something that is similar to Agent Orange. It's just one. It's like the mirror image of it. It's the same stuff, but they can patent it because it's slightly different. Okay, so back to the tree analogy. That tree is actively poisoning that leaf.
Yes.
But that leaf doesn't stay isolated.
Correct.
It's going to affect the whole of the tree. So where do you separate that out? Like it is poisoning you. It is poisoning your friends, your family.
Very good. So I'm going to bring that home to my life because that actually was part of my world. Drug addiction, alcoholism, smoking, all of that was all part of my family branch, if you will. And amazingly enough, Robin, it did not, it was affecting me, and my blueprint, my soul's blueprint, I recognized was like, oh, nowhere was it in my blueprint to participate in that, to take the drugs, to smoke, to drink alcohol excessively, to get into relationships that are dysfunctional, like abusive. I was touched by it, but in my soul blueprint, I grew right around it and surpassed it. And those branches all fell away. Those leaves all fell away from my reality. And now it's nowhere there. So that's it. It's knowing that in your soul blueprint, that's the only thing that we can truly be aware of, because nowhere do we know what somebody else's soul blueprint is. Because if they have come in with the lesson of learning self-love somehow, which we all have, it's all love. We're all here to just grow into our highest potential of love. And so I see that leaf next to me, all those leaves who are choosing addiction and other things like that. I see that as their soul blueprint towards love. And they're just where they're at with that process. And perhaps 10 lifetimes ago, I was there and I recognized it. And that is why now I hold the wisdom of, that's beautiful. What they're doing, their blueprint is perfect for them. I may not like it. It really hurts me to see them go through that. And I'm right here ready to help in any way that I can, if they should ask me.
Well, and I think that's important, but what really comes up is that level of discernment. And, by poisoning your tree, your system is not going to help them in any way. It's just going to hurt you. So that's not what I want to have in my field
Exactly.
whatsoever. And that's when you're talking about, we're not investing in toxic relationships. I can absolutely love that person from a distance because I see myself in them 100%. There's no judgment. I have nothing on them, before, behind, above, below. It just is. So I can love them in that place from a distance. They're not going to be in my energetic field poisoning it. That's just my level of discernment. But, and here's the thing, if we're going trees, when I speak loving truth to that person, or when somebody asks me these questions, I've planted a seed.
Yes.
Whether that seed blossoms in this lifetime or an infinite number down the road, it still is I believe, guiding is these, as star seeds, plant these seeds of love.
Yes. That's why we're here, Robin.
Agree.
There are many who are not awakened to what I feel is the knowingness that we're all of God, every single seed, every single being, right?
All of us. Like, let's say that again.
All of
every
us.
Single one, the ones that are driving you crazy on the TV, and the ones that you think are diabolical and cabal, or whatever you labeling them. We are all part of this.
We are all part of it together. And what keeps me at peace, and centered and healthy, and loving consistently is holding that thought, because I could, every single time that I've removed myself from that knowingness, because the masters came, and and I'm so connected to Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene and other masters, because I have had personal experiences that have been so profound, that have shown me in my blueprint, remember this, and remember this.
And I think that's so important what you're talking about. It's not the paradigm of religion that I believe you're talking about. You're talking about your personal experience with God. And I think that's so important to reiterate right now. And that's why I'm here, is to tell people that there is no separation between you and God. There is no translator. It's your relationship with the divine, and you, as a sovereign being with agency and intuition, can tune into what that relationship feels like, to speak to God one-on-one directly. That's up to you. So thank you for letting me interject a little bit there. I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, I am so passionate about it too. And so what I imagine is what the grand awakening is, that the grand awakening is knowing oh my gosh, we're all the tree. I'm a leaf on this big tree, and it just keeps going and going. And so then you go intergalactic and galactic. And so you ask me, the way I actually see it is, let's just say, my family, there was so much dysfunction and so forth. And now what I see is oh my gosh, that's a speck of sand in the big cosmos of things. And so when I expand myself that way, they can't touch me. That energy cannot touch me. And it hasn't. If anything, like I said, I've expanded myself beyond addiction, beyond, negative fear, beyond, there's always going to be levels of, to me, fear is it's just a mindset that you just you have a thought and you're oh, well, how does that feel? And you're oh, well, that feels contracting. Oh, well, then let's shift the thought and expand. Right. So you see, we just did that. That
I love that. And oh, just blew out of my head. It was something
They're so expensive.
It is so expansive. Staring at that speck. I really love that you said that, because I've seen that as well. Like when we look at, whether we had trauma or toxic relationship or whatever it was, like some people get stuck in that. And I analogize that to staring in a microscope at the one little tiny thing that was wrong or dramatic, and ignoring everything else that's going on around you because you're so focused on that.
Yeah.
And being able to just release that and shift the perspective around it so that you're not in the either victim hero mentality. I think that's what's gotten into a lot of control right now. People get to be a victim and a hero. When we lose that, we lose the labels of that was bad, fear is bad, anxiety is bad, peace is good. Like, just remove all those labels and then tap into, how does that feel in my body? They're all messages.
Yes.
The childhood was a message. The quote trauma was a message. Find the gold and then release it, or listen, and it will release you.
Yes. Yes. And one of the things that came through me as a teacher of these young beings was, actually, they were teaching me. They were just reminding, they were helping to awaken in me the wisdom that was already there. And so I remember sitting in circle in the morning, and these are 3 to 6 year olds.
Oh.
And imagine I would light a candle in the center of the circle, and that, there's that focus, right? Focus on this point of light. And then from there, the discussion would ensue. Like I would pose a question, and then each child in their own time, in their own right, would just have something to say, something to share. And it was so beautiful. I'll never forget this one little boy. He was like almost 5. And he looked at me and he raised his little hand, so cute. And he said, "Miss Julie?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I know things. I know so many things that so many others don't know." And I looked at him and I said, "Yes, you do." It was like he was so tuned into his internal world and feeling the cosmos of everything. And in that stillness, in that moment of silence, he connected with it. So I want to bring this back to our conversation about right now, what's happening, what can parents do with their children? So there is a calling right now. I've talked to more mothers than I cared. Oh my gosh, it's so many mothers have come to me and are seeking the wisdom, because and the message I give every single mother is, and not to say that fathers don't have the answers either, but there is something, as we all know, as if you've given birth to a child, is that you just are connected to the core of that being, and you fed them, and your consciousness is one with their consciousness, and you're so connected to them, and so you feel their pain, they feel yours, and so forth, and your thoughts. So right now is the most opportune time for mothers to truly trust themselves. You have to trust your knowingness, your inner knowingness. I spoke with a woman yesterday who is a mother, a young mother of 2 children, and she's struggling because her whole being was saying, I don't really want to vaccinate my child, and I don't want to be vaccinated myself. Her husband was in a position where he's in a system where they're mandating, he's a first responder, they're mandating that he get vaccinated. So he went ahead, even though it was against his core knowingness, he went ahead and did it anyway, because he has to support his family. He didn't want to lose his job. And the mother but he said to her, don't do it. Let me do it. It was like he was sacrificing his self for the sake of the family. And I'm getting goosebumps all over. Ugh. And so from that place, she was like, okay, so now she's bringing her child to the school, and the school is starting to say, here's where we're going. Your child, in order for you to be able to come in contact with your child in our school, we're going to mandate that you get vaccinated. And she went against every core of her cell and just said, all right, because nowhere was she going to be separated from her child. And so we are there, we are at those places. And what I'm here to offer is that we are at a place in time, and this is not our first time as human beings, where we have been challenged to know who we are to the core of ourselves. We are children of God. We live under God's law. All other laws are man-made, which, if you think about it, truly, if we're all God's children and we're creating laws, the only disconnect that exists right now is that the laws that are being made are not in alignment with God's law. So, right? So ask parents to sit with that.
Exactly. And know that I am done listening to men and some women say, well, I had to. You did not have to. Say it plainly. I was too scared to leave a job that provided security, so I injected myself with an experimental drug.
Correct.
Martyring yourself is not serving anyone. Saying, well, I had to get it because of they were telling it. That is how we lose. That is how we globally lose to this shadow force, is by bowing down and saying, well, I had to. I've heard that so many times, and that gets me a little riled up, because you didn't have to.
Right.
And every time you're awake and you've succumbed to this, that's one more defeat, one more defeat, one more defeat. When we collectively can say, and when we're in our truth and when we're in God's law, meaning that's my expression of God's law, we support one another. You get fired, we have this interconnection of, we've got places to stay, we've got delicious organic biodynamic foods to eat. We can support one another. We can start our own banking system, which Dr. Zach Bush is already implementing. Peggy Hall and her freedom fighters are working on purchasing airlines, so we don't have to worry about mandates,
right? And
these laws that are not God's laws.
Yes.
So I just want to say that in the midst of that.
Absolutely. And so I have been sitting here asking the question. All right, so I'll bring it again. I like to bring it home, because all I can offer truly is the wisdom that I hold and how I navigate my life and how it's working. So from early on, waking up meant paying attention to my intuition. That is God's voice. That is universal source energy coming through you, and it speaks with knowingness that is like, people who know me have said, Julie, how do you do this? How do you navigate your life this way? It's too scary for me. I have to know 10 years ahead of me what's happening. I have learned that that isn't the way. The way is waking up in every morning and listening within, and then paying attention to a voice and a sound and a feeling that is so loving and trusting that you literally fall back and you just go, I trust this. Okay, and then from there, then I open up my phone. Then I turn on my computer. Then I go out into the world. And then I look to see, what have I just created for myself? As within, so without. So right now, I believe, I have a sense, because I've been navigating this and asking, is this it? Is this the path? And I've been shown that on a global, and I'm not the only one holding this story, if you will, on a global human, reality, each one of us is like the cell in a body. There's trillions of us, really, throughout the galaxies. We're all interconnected. We're all speaking to each other telepathically. My telepathy is so strong right now because I allow it to be. I believe it's so. I literally will think of a person and boom, next second, like within minutes, I receive a text from them or a call. Yes, I'll bring it. It's really simple. I was like looking at my toes and I thought, wow, I need a pedicure again from my daughter. And within an hour, she texted me. I didn't call her. I just thought of it. She texted me and said, hey, you want a pedicure today? This is profound. This is what the master, came here to tell us. Within us right now, our DNA is being activated to a level that we literally are getting superpowers. Most of us who have come through time and space and lifetime after lifetime, I know it. I awoke to it. I've been using these tools, and I'm here to help empower parents, especially the mothers, because the moms are the ones who hold the intuition. The fathers are there as like protectors, and they are here to, obviously, to propagate the human race also, but they're here as to love and cherish and hold their family and to help provide the structure and build the structures and work together in collaboration with the other men and families to provide safety and good food and the infrastructures. They're the builders in so many ways. Not to say women can't jump in there and do it too, but we've been doing this for generations upon generations, and the women are the ones who give birth to humanity. We're the ones who bring the wisdom of the cosmos through our bodies, and through our nursing of the children with the milk, we impart that wisdom to the children through our DNA. And it's from there that right now, at this time, the women are being called to rise up, to trust their instincts, to trust their messages that are coming through them, and to break the barriers that have been built up over lifetimes, and to begin to come together. It's the women who are going to bring the new consciousness onto the planet with the children, and the men are here to support us.
I think we absolutely are bringing it in.
Yep.
And, to your point, the ability, and I've seen these strands coming off of us that are extrasensory perception. And when they intermingle, that's when you get your daughter got the thought wave and you get it back. That's in all of us. That's not an evolutionary thing. We've been kept separate from it. So my question has always been, when we stop poisoning ourselves and toxifying in any way, what are we capable of? And then when we lock shields, what's that potential? When we're all in this in heart-centered connection together, what's the potential there? We haven't seen it. And I know that for a fact.
It's coming.
That's what evolution is. It's not, the aliens are telling us like, here's the blueprint and here's what's happening. And this has all been done before. None of it's been done before.
Correct.
Nobody knows how this is going to end up. We don't play games that we know the ending of. We don't know
Right.
if we're going to win or lose or even what it's going to look like. Fortunately, thank God for unanswered prayers. Because if I had my small brain on, the case, I'm going to screw it up epically. Because,
Yes.
I'm like, well, get Bill Gates out of there and they have their part. They have their divine
They do.
peace,
Yes. To move us forward. And so be grateful.
But we don't know. Like, we don't know the answers.
We don't.
Yeah.
And that's the piece that we're learning, I think, to embrace, is that we are creators. That's it. We come here, we are a seed of God, and we're one with the ultimate master physicist and creator. And so from that place, my job is to pay attention to me. Who am I? What's pulsing? What energy is pulsing through me? And what is the one that I most am passionate, if you will, to hold on to it and to express? And that's what I've been awakened to. And then to look at someone else and say, oh my gosh, pulsing through them is the same energy. And this is where they're at in their expression. And to let go of any man-made mind construct that we have been creating over time, to just, that's it. We're being asked to let go of that. Some are calling it ego. A lot have said it's your ego, it's your ego. Well, your ego is actually part of the God in you. That's it. That helps you survive. So if somebody comes and, there's threat, I'm going to respond. That's in me. That's my ego going, I want to live. It's like, I have more to express. Well,
it's also your God self. It's all of it. The ego is border, barrier, separation. I couldn't love my son if I didn't have an ego. Exactly. The ego does not deserve to be in the driver's seat.
No.
But to have that sacred awareness, nobody's killing anything that came in with me. My ego came in with me. That is a piece of me. That is a piece of God. But to have the awareness of what it is.
Yes.
And as you evolve in your mindset and all of these things that you learn, as does your ego. So it's not going to stay the dumb little ego that you started with. Like, it gets just as advanced as you do. So that's where our discernment comes in. Is this my ego wanting to speak right now? Is this me wanting to be right? Is this me wanting to, or am I feeling separate?
Yeah.
And then that's where we can then say, okay, I got to tap in more to my heart and recenter myself so that the soul's voice can come through. We have those bundles of neurons in our heart and our gut. Some of them innervate the vocal cords. You can literally speak from the heart.
Yes.
And people hear that.
Yes. And one of the greatest things that I think that I value in my life is whenever I want to understand that, I have been guided time and time again. I grew up in northern Maine in a forest, literally. I had a forest behind my house. I had a creek that I used to just play in all the time. So from early on, I chose that environment to awaken early in life, because nature is the key. So mothers, fathers, if you want to know what to do right now, as you're going through this retrograding of this big Victorian house and this whole school system and all that, spend as much time as you can out in nature. Okay? Stay away from all the fear-based stuff. That is because every single time you go out in nature and you allow your children to go back to being one with the mother, okay, then you will find that your children's nervous systems will calm down and recalibrate to that of the earth. She is speaking to us. We are connected to her, and she's calling us to her right now. Everything else that is not of nature is falling away. They are no longer serving us. And so that's why we're seeing everything that's been man-made by us. We made it. We created all the systems, the monetary system, the political system, the economic system, the food system, the schools, all of it. We all created as humans as one God. And now God is just saying there's a better plan. There's a new and improved version of everything that you have created, and you are being assisted in letting go of all the old creations right now because they no longer serve you. It's like us waking up one day and me going like, where's my doll that I used to play with 40 years ago? Where is it? I need it. I need to hold on to it. It's like, God's like, there's something better, a more improved version for you that will help comfort you and provide you with the nurturing that you need. And so be willing to let go right now. That is so important. So sit with your spouse, sit with your family, and talk about it. Be willing to say, I'm scared, right? You said that, Robin. You have to be willing to say, I'm terrified right now. I have no idea whatsoever. I think I don't know. I think I don't know. But the truth is you do. Inside of you, in your blueprint, are the answers. And it's your connection. Go out in nature. Take time to be out there. I met a beautiful family that I know from the preschool I used to teach at. Husband, wife, 3 children out in nature. And they were so peaceful and serene and happy. They both work still, but they're taking time to bring their children out in nature.
That's it. That's exactly it. And pretty much every single guest that I've had on the whole time has said the same thing. Get out in nature. And I say raw nature, not landscaped with chemicals, raw, undisturbed by man nature as much as you can. Take your shoes off for at least 20 minutes. I go down to the water and put my feet in the salt water and do my breath work. That grounds me. We have to ground every day. We are electrical beings. The amount of EMFs and 5G and radiation coming into our body has never been experienced before. So just ground it, get back into nature, get back into your silence, and hear your soul's voice, hear God's voice, and then make the action based on your discernment from your heart, not from your head. The head will give you the directions and get the map and the plan. That is not the director. That's not the director. It gets you from point A to point B. The heart sets the destination. And all of our destinations can come from that heart space. That's the world I want to live in, not my directions and my rules and what I think it should be happening, but everyone tapped into their heart space, and let's have conversations, and let's be able to disagree and agree to disagree and have ideas shared and get back to that place where there's no lines in the sand and there's not this just division. Yeah. So we are absolutely out of time, but we've got to continue. We're going to have a part 2 to this because I really want to tap into, I know a lot of people get scared when you say, just trust your intuition and create that with this new education of our children. But also I think that another piece to add is add in a village of those that are, I say awakening. No one's awake. Nothing in nature stays at a standstill. Correct. It's a process, just like everything. Yes. And we're all in different stages of that process. So as we are awakening, deeper and deeper levels of information and wisdom will come forward. Yes. And so the trick is acknowledge that fear, welcome fear. What's your message? I'm listening. Be as big as you need to be. I'm ready to be released.
See the fear, the visual that I help people hold also, Robin, is imagine that you are the seed and the sheath around you, the protective cover that's around you, you're breaking out of that. And that's fear is the sensation of breaking out of that shell, that protective shell.
Oh, I like that.
Looking up to the light, the sun's right there. And you're natural. You don't have to do anything. You don't have, it's happening. That's the key, is it's already happening. Every single person on this planet right now is either staying in their protective shell because that's their blueprint. That's it. There's no judgment. It's just that's their plan this lifetime. Next time around, they're going to break through. Others are already like a quarter of a way out of their shell. Some have matured already and are dying and leaving the earth. That's it. That's the process. And it's
That's a process.
That's it.
Yeah. And if we don't judge the seed for what stage it's in and yell at it, like, you're not germinated enough, and where's your sprout? Like, it just is. It just is.
Oh my God, you're a sunflower this time? What the heck? I thought you were going to be a rose. You said, right? I mean,
right. You promised. You promised. Yeah. So release, tap into that intuition and find those that are wanting to educate our children in the same way. Let's connect. Like, that's been the message, especially with all of this stuff. We have so many resources. Look to nature in her abundance. One plant gives you millions of seeds. One plant. That, so it's not a Darwinian dog eat dog fight for this survival of the fittest. Yeah, it is collaboration and harmony.
That's the new paradigm. That's the new earth that's being formed. And
I say, let's get rid of the paradigms. Paradigms are how we control things. Like, let's get rid of the paradigm and say, this is the new way of expressing and being on the planet. We are not creating any more paradigms or zeitgeists or rules and boxes. Like, let's just look at the sky and space. Yes.
And just because I'm a practical person, there are people who are asking, okay, but wait a minute here. I'm in a human form. I'm living in a house. I've got children. I'm stressed. I'm this, I'm that. Start with, go out in nature, either by yourself, sit in quiet and listen. Pay attention to what's happening. Is your mind completely so filled that you can't even be still? And if that's happening, call me. Or call Robin. That's why we're here. We're here to help, because that's the work that I'm here helping many people. Is it just happens. It doesn't take 30 sessions. You don't have to be forever. There are people who are literally doing quantum shifts within a session with me. They're like, whoa, what just happened?
That's it. That's the point. It is fast. It's not a complicated, long drawn out. It's going to take years, like psychotherapy or some nonsense like that. It's quick. It gets to the point. It clears out that clutter of Chicken Little, skies falling, because that's what we do for one another. I can reflect what your limiting beliefs are and what your sky is falling beliefs are. So where can people find you, Julie, if they want to work with you?
Yeah, so just right now, have them go to my email, which is Julie Daigle, and the last name is D as in doll, AIG as in girl, LE 50 @gmail.com.
Okay, and I'll have that in the show notes so you don't have to memorize it. Yeah, and her name's on her screen. If you didn't get the spelling, I will have the email.
I'm working on my website to get that up. It will be Chaos to Compassion.
Chaos to Compassion. And chaos is compassion too.
Yes, it is.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, because you have to have the chaos. Right now, we're in chaos so that we are growing towards being to our true self, which is compassion. And so it is I love how you said discerning, right? You got to discern where you are in the process and accept it all.
Accept it all. Yeah. Accept and love it all. Like that's the work, And I think too, just a quick aside, when you are in that feeling of the sky is falling and, maybe you succumbed and you turn the television on, or, some other thing on YouTube caught your eye and you 2 hours later, you're in a fear state. Yeah. Turn everything off that's electronic if you're unable to get in nature, just put your hand on your heart and take some breaths and look around you. I can almost bet it's not chaotic.
Exactly.
I could almost with 100% accuracy predict things are pretty safe around you.
Yeah.
Look in your, like if you didn't know, if I sprayed your eyes with that Men in Black spray and you didn't know about this whole shutdown and global chaos that they're telling us is happening, and in my personal space, I would have no idea that this is happening.
That's so true.
All I see is love and peace and kindness and connection with my neighbors, with my dog, with you, with this ability to have a discussion with you. Tap into that and let that become your new radar and find that.
Yeah. It's no accident that you're listening or watching this podcast. It's no accident that Robin and I connected. I didn't wake up one day and say, I know that I'm going to be meeting this woman named Robin. No, our blueprints brought us together. So trust your blueprint, that whatever's you've created and co-creating with God is exactly perfect for you. And it's only getting better. That's the
Thank you for
direction.
saying that too, because that's we don't have to seek that energy of seeking and figuring this stuff out by yesterday. It will come to you. That's that softness but God, we have eyes facing forward for a reason. We're made in the image of God. There's nothing that is behind us. So your job is not to just stay there stagnating, is to move forward gently, calmly, in this loving way, as then your guidance system will come on.
It's already on. Remember this.
It's on, but we have those distractions, those noise. You can't hear it. So that's what I'm expressing, especially the soul's voice. You have to be very quiet, very still in your presence to hear it. The ego and fear is booming, and old voices and paradigms, like that's loud. This is a very quiet way. And that's how you know that's your soul's voice, or what you call God's voice. That's how you know.
That's how you know. If you're in nature and you're sitting by the water and you're just listening to nature. Like I love just being out in nature all the time, just to listen.
Yes.
And to hear. And then I'm like, wow, I'm the same. I'm the same. I feel that inside. I feel it outside.
That's a good practice too. Okay. Last half hour later, last little tip too is, what I do is I will picture my heart beating in harmony with, if there's animals around, birds or the ocean, you can hear it lapping. That is the same. So just kind of harmonize yourself with the landscape. Sometimes I'll hear noise coming up from mountains or rocks. Harmonize your heartbeat with that. And I guarantee you can't be in a fear state when you're doing that. They're mutually exclusive. But Julie Daigle, thank you so much for being here on my podcast. I really want to connect with you again and start tapping more into connecting with this amazing generation that's coming up, and how to help them be their own little lights, protecting and protecting that sovereignty.
Yes.
And not telling them what to think, but here's ways that you can think. Here's how to creatively think. Here's how to critically think. All of those things, but it's all up to you. Yeah. What do you choose?
Yeah. And be the model. We're just here to be models for them.
Yeah.
And so whatever you model, they're watching. And so my job was to be the best model I could be. So
amen to that. And
amen to that. Right.
Let's keep going with this.
Yeah,
thank you. Namaste, my beautiful sister. Thank you for
Robin.
being here on the planet at the same time I am and sharing these beautiful ideas.
Absolutely. Love you.
Love you too. Take care.